everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be diving into the new Natasha Denona palette. She just released a new palette. Before we jump into the information about the palette, I took a brief break off of YouTube. My son actually flew home and surprised me for Mother's Day, and he had to go to a wedding and stuff, so it was a really fun surprise to have him home. And so I just took a few days off just to relax and hang out with my family, and it was a nice little break. Everybody needs a break. And I also wanted to mention this because I'm sure you guys will be seeing it throughout the video. It's kind of peeking through my shirt. So to make a very long story short, Friday nights are the nights that I scrub off my fake tan and put on a new fake tan. So I exfoliated my skin, put my fake tan on, woke up Saturday, everything was fine. The tan looked great. So Saturday night I get in the tub, and because I like to get in the tub at night, it's just my thing. So Saturday night I get in the tub and I bought a new glycolic body wash. I've never used the glycolic body wash. It was a more expensive one. I will put the picture of it right up here on the screen. So I had heard about it. It was suggested by a YouTuber. So I bought it thinking, you know, that I wanted to kind of get my skin and everything in really good shape for shorts and bikinis and all of that, especially getting ready to go to Florida and stuff. I wanted to get my skin looking better. So a glycolic wash, I used it that night. And it burned a little bit when I got out of the tub and put some lotion on. It burned a little bit, but it wasn't like it was burning to the point where I was expecting this the next day. I wake up the next morning and this is just so bad. It is mad at me. It's right in between here, right underneath my breasts, and then right here. It looks awful. So yesterday I went in to get Botox, which was Monday. And I normally get Botox about every 3 or 4 months. And I was telling my doctor, because he was like, what in the heck happened? And so I told him, and he was like, oh, you got to get this cream. So he wrote me a prescription for this cream. It's called Desanide Ointment. And it's like a steroid cream. And so he said, you know, use it, but discontinue using it. You don't want to use it longer than like 2 weeks because it can thin your skin out or something. I don't know. But anyway, so I've been putting it on and it seems to be a lot better. It was way worse. Sunday and Monday, it was bad. Today's Tuesday. And this is, I mean, it's been 24 hours since I've used this, so this is helping. Now, I use glycolic washes on my face, and I've used a glycolic pill on my face, but I've never used a glycolic body wash before. So I don't know if it was in conjunction with exfoliating the night before and then using that glycolic body wash, or my skin just does not like the glycolic body wash. I'm not exactly sure, but I wanted to mention it because I'm sure you guys are seeing it, and I'm a hot mess at the end of the day. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the palette. So this is the new Zendo palette. This palette retails for $65. This was the mini Zendo palette, which I actually really like the mini Zendo palette, and I've used it several times since I've got it. Now, this palette is a mess because I have used it. I created 3 eyeshadow looks in this review, and I have done so many swatches and comparisons so that you guys can see how this palette compares. I pre-ordered this on the Natasha Denona website, got it super fast. I mean, it shipped so fast. It is now available at other retailers, so I will leave a link to all the places that I personally find it in the description box down below in case you guys are interested in picking it up if you haven't already. In the palette, we have a variety of different formulas. So we have the traditional creamy matte, which is just a matte eyeshadow. We have 2 duochromes, which right here and right here are the 2 duochromes. Then we have some metallics, but we also have some cream to powder formulas. Now, if you guys have been with me for a minute, you will know that for me on a personal level, I'm not a huge fan of the cream to powder formula. It's not my favorite formula. We all have different techniques. Some people love the cream to powder formula. For me, I just struggle with it. So that's what we're doing in today's video, you guys. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the 3 tutorials that I did using this palette. And then of course we will jump into the swatches and comparisons, and then I will jump into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. So let's go ahead and jump into look number 1. This shade right here just is so pretty. And I am into these like pastel colors this season. The pastel oranges and like the coral colors, the mint greens, like I'm into them. So I want to jump into that shade. I want to see how that shade applies on the lid. So I'm going to take the Esom 27 brush and I'm going to go into that mint shade. This is a cream to powder formula. So let's see how it applies. I'm going to switch to a different brush because I'm getting a little bit of patchiness. So I'm going to switch to, I don't know if this brush will work, but I'm going to try it. This is the Refer number 21. So that is a really pretty shade. I actually really like the color of it, but I am having the issue with it getting a little bit patchy. So if you look real close, you can see some like patchiness, which I kind of experienced that with her cream to powder formula. I mean, some people love this formula. For me, it's just a little bit harder to use. I'm going to go into the shade Balance right here in the top row, and I'm going to lightly dip into that shade. That is a creamy matte shade, so it's not a cream to powder. I'm going to bring that into the crease. This might be a little bit warmer than I'm personally looking for, but I would probably prefer to have a little bit more of a neutral shade for this color, but that's okay. I want to bring that shade out into the crease, so I'm going to try to build that shade. I'm trying to make it work, but I just can't. Because this is the cream to powder formula instead of the creamy matte, it is not building on top of itself, and so it can't build depth. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off. Not the entire thing, but I'm gonna wipe off my crease. Okay, so I went ahead and put that concealer back on. I'm gonna go back into the shade Breathe, but I'm gonna use a pencil brush, and this is the BK Beauty 207, and I'm just gonna like build this in the crease and with nothing under it. See what we can do. Trial and error is important to show you guys, because like for those of you at home, you know, if you have my skin tone, you're going to want to know if you can build that shade. And so I always feel like it's important to keep the footage of trial and error into a review. It's all a part of the review, right? I would like to build a little bit of depth with this, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to, because I feel like anything I put over top of it will change this color. So this is about as far as I'm gonna get, even though you do have to watch for it getting patchy in certain spots. It's pretty. You just have to work with it. You have to really work it and pack it on. And I would suggest packing it with a tightly dense packed brush. I feel like I need something just instead of just having this whole entire mint eyeshadow look. I'm going to take the flat definer from Sigma, and I think I'm going to grab the shade Zeal, and I'm going to bring that right at the base of my lashes. Now, that is a very pigmented color, so go in lightly. I'm going to do the same thing on the upper, right at the base of the lashes. I'm just going to kind of tap that color in. And I'll probably create a wing with it. Okay, so I just went ahead and threw on a lash. I just threw on the House of Lashes in the style Iconic Lights. It actually turned out better than I was expecting it to. And I think using that shade Zeal as kind of the definition right at the base of the lashes just kind of made the green pop even more. The lash is definitely hanging on by a thread, but I'm going to be taking it off to do the final look. So I figured I would not, you know, press it down too hard. So that's it for look number 1. Let's go ahead and jump into look number 2. Okay, let's move on to look number 2, and I love these blue shades. They're so pretty, right? And I'm trying to kind of decide like how to use them and how to kind of play with them. So I think I'm going to start with the shade Balance. Her mattes always blend beautifully. I never have to worry about her creamy matte formula because they blend beautifully. So I'm gonna grab my Smith 253 brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Flow, this one right here. And I am gonna place this all over the lid. I am going to bring that same shade underneath the lash line. I'm gonna go into the shade Mindful. Now this is also a cream to powder. I'm gonna take a small pencil brush and I'm gonna go into Mindful, and I am going to bring that right here on the outer corner. I just don't love those browns with that blue. They're too orange for me, personally. Yeah, I don't love the tone. Okay, so normally I love blues with browns, but these are like way too warm of browns, and it was okay until I added this dark color, the Mindful, and then it just kind of, I just don't love the way this is turning out. I don't love the color that I'm getting from it. I don't know, it's not my favorite. Yeah, I don't love this. I don't love this. In fact, it kind of ruined it, to be honest with you. For me, that color ruined it. I have a feeling if I go in with the blue and try to bring it into the crease, I don't know that I'm gonna love it, but that is going to be my last ditch effort, because if I can't rectify it, I'm gonna wipe it off anyways, because this is just not something, for me personally, this is not my favorite. I'm gonna try to go into the blue with a kind of just a blending brush. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna take this off. I do not like this. I can't, no. I'll be right back. While I was off camera, this is got some kind of magnetic situation in it. And this is my eyelash applicator. Got like stuck to this and like made this dent in it. So anyway, I'm kind of ticked off about it. Let's go ahead and go into the shade Balance. I want to see what luster looks like on the lid. I'm just going to grab the Smith 253 brush and I'm going to go into the shade Luster. And it looks like Luster is a metallic formula. Up and into the crease. Kind of really open up the eye with that shade. Did did get a little bit of fallout under here, so just FYI. I'm gonna switch to a small pencil brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Mindful. I went ahead and threw on some concealer. Let's go into the shade Balance. I'm gonna bring that right under the lower lash line. Let's go into the shade Yama, the one that I messed up in my palette. Let's go into this shade. This is a duochrome shade, by the way. Let's go in and stick that right on the center of the lid, kind of going up. It's a beautiful shade. Ooh, it's pretty. Kind of wish I would have put that all over the lid because it is beautiful. I'm gonna do it. Kind of have a mixture between Yama and the gold, but I'm gonna spray it with some Matte Fix Plus. Just so I don't make a mess because I've already put my concealer on. But it's such a beautiful duochrome. Oh my gosh, you guys, that shade is beautiful. Look how beautiful this is. It's got a lot of like yellows and like greens, and oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Okay, so this is the final look for look number 2, and I think it's beautiful. It definitely is very normal. I mean, we have these gold brown tones in so many of our palettes, but it is really pretty. Now, I would have went in a lot. I mean, this is just, I just threw on a lash, so it's not like a full polished look, but it serves its purpose. So that's it for look number 2. Let's go ahead and jump into look number 3, which will be the final look. Okay, I went ahead and wiped off both the looks. Let's move on to the third and final look. And of course, the whole entire reason why I bought this palette is these shades right here in this quadrant. And I keep digging my nail. I'm gonna ruin my palette by the time I'm done. I'm literally gonna ruin my palette. These two are really beautiful, but they're both cream to powder. They're both cream to powder. I was hoping that one of them would be a creamy matte, but they're both the cream to powder formula. Okay, actually, it does not feel like a cream to powder. That feels like a matte. I am so confused. How can that be a cream to powder? Okay, I'm really confused right now because I've been kind of swatching the shades Relief and Calm. So here on the box, here is the shade Relief, and then you have Calm, and it both says that they are cream to powder, but this shade Calm is definitely a cream to powder, but the shade Relief feels like it is a creamy matte. It does not feel like a cream to powder at all. See some of the fallout that's inside that color? You normally don't get that with a cream to powder formula. So I gotta look on the website and see if I am like losing my mind, because I feel like that this is just not right. I was right. So I looked on the website, and the shade Relief, which is $381, is a cream to matte. But on the box, it says it is a cream to powder. See how it says it's a cream to powder? Really happy that both of these shades are not the cream to powder formula, because it would be unnecessary to have both of them in that formula. For me, on a personal level, I can't really build a lot of depth with the cream to powder. So having the cream to matte and the cream to powder option for that color of shade. So it must be a misprint on the back of the box. So I'm going to grab the shade Relief. I am going to bring this in the crease. The shade is really beautiful and blends so easily. Now I am going to go into the cream to powder. I want to see how the shade Calm applies on the lid, and I'm going to kind of use it as a base. So I'm going to grab this shade right here. Now you don't have to do this step. I'm doing it for the review purpose. But for the look that I'm going to create, you don't have to do this. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of pigment from it. Let me switch brushes. I guess I'm going to use my finger because I'm really not getting a lot of pigment from that shade. It's a very light pigment. It's a really pretty peachy color, but you have to build it so much to even get any kind of pigment on my skin tone. Those who have like a fair to light skin, or even those who have a deeper complexion, like this shade will pop on a deeper complexion. But on my skin tone, it kind of just blends into my skin. So you really can't see it, but it's there. I just have to build it like a lot to get it to show up. Now I'm going to go into the shade Aura right here. Go into the shade Dry first, just to see how it applies. I'm going to bring that kind of up and into the crease. So I just cleaned up a little bit. I didn't really get a lot of fallout with that shade, which I'm impressed with. So I will kind of clean up this line in just a minute. But I am going to go into the shade Yama. And I am going to spray that shade with some MAC Fix Plus. And I'm going to place that like right on the center of the lid just to give a little teeny bit of that dimension right there on the center. I think it's kind of just makes it all pop. Okay, so I just went ahead and threw on some concealer. I'm going to grab this shade right here. And I am going to bring that right along the lower lash line. I'm going to take the shade Vigor and I'm going to pop that right close to the lash line just to add that depth right at the base. I think I'm also going to use the shade Yama on the inner corner right here. It is a beautiful duochrome, you guys. Woo. Okay, everyone, I am back. This is the final look, and I went ahead and finished the rest of my makeup. For the blush, I had to grab this. This is the Natasha Denona Bloom Highlighting Blush. And I felt like this blush was just so appropriate for this eyeshadow look. I love this blush. As for the lippy, I grabbed this from YSL. I've been kind of obsessed with these. These are the lip shines. This is in the shade number 12. It just matches perfect. And these are so pretty. I just love them. Now, as far as the lashes, I went ahead and threw on the Ardell Naked Lashes in the style 424. Cut the ends off quite a bit so that they kind of lift and go up versus out. But I've been really loving the Ardell Naked Lashes lately. So that is what I'm wearing. That's it for look number 3. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches and comparisons. And then, of course, I will jump into my final thoughts. So I'll see you guys then. Okay, so now that we've made it through the swatches and comparisons, let me go ahead and get into my final thoughts. By the way, I did not have the Circle Loco palette. You guys know I did review that palette, but I no longer have that palette. I did gift it to a friend of mine that I knew would get more use out of it than I will. that's a very colorful story, and I bought the palette to review it. And yes, I could have kept it in my collection for comparisons, but when you spend that much money on a palette and you're not using it, I just felt like I needed to gift it to somebody that I knew would love it. He has created beautiful looks with it, and I am just happy to hand it over to somebody that I know will love it. And so that is the reason why I did not have that palette to compare. So let me go ahead and jump into my final thoughts. You guys know that I struggled with this palette. I had to wipe off my eyeshadow for 2 looks. 2 out of the 3 looks, I had to wipe it off. That can happen with 1 look, but not 2 in a row. Like, I was struggling. And I think it's because of the color combination. I think it's because this is just a wide variety of different colors plastered into one. I was having a hard time putting colors together and making them work. Taking the whole cream to powder formula out of the gate, right? You guys know that the cream to powder formula is not my favorite. I mentioned it in the intro. There's several reasons why I don't love the cream to powder formula. Number 1, I have a hard time blending it out. So it's a great pigment to pack on the eye. Like if you're gonna pack it on the outer corner, like say this shade right here, you wanna pack on the depth. It's easy to do that, but packing it on and then trying to blend it, oh, I struggle so much with it. Also, for me, it doesn't build any depth. Now, here's the thing. I personally like using a cream to powder formula. In fact, Charlotte Tilbury launched this palette. This is the Super Nudes Easy Eye. This is also a cream powder formula where it's a hybrid, cream and powder combined. Love this. And I can build depth with these shadows. But when it comes to the Natasha Denona formula, for me, just on a personal level, I struggle with it. Because I struggled with 2 out of the 3 looks that I created, I'm a little bit hesitant to come on camera and say, oh my gosh, I love this palette, right? So I love the size of this. Like this midi size is my favorite from her because it's not the super, super big one. It's not the, large one. It's like this in between where you get less product, but with the same amount of shades. Like this is the type of palette that I personally love from Natasha Denona. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being like the best, I'm giving this palette like a 6. So on a scale from 1 to 5, I would probably give it like a 3, 3.5. I'm not like overly in love with it. People love the Metropolis palette, I think, because of the shimmers in that palette. The shimmers are unbelievable. These shimmers are very toned down. They're not super, super strong, which kind of gives me that whole Zen vibe, right? None of the shimmer shades in this palette are super explosive, as you saw in the swatches. So if you like the Metropolis palette for those shimmer shades, you might not love this palette, but if you like more of a toned down shimmer, then you might really like this palette. So it kind of depends on what you personally like. For me, I think some of the shimmers could have been a little bit better, especially in the blues. And I felt like there's just not enough to work with. So for example, the blues, there's the only shade that I can use with the blue in this palette for me personally is this shade. This green doesn't really go with anything. So I wish that this would have been like, even like a really pretty like light blue or something that I could use with these blue shades. This green doesn't make sense to me. This dark green up here doesn't make sense to me. This like cool tone kind of jade green doesn't make sense to me because I can't use this jade green with these blues. This is just for me, you guys. This is just me on a personal level. I can't use these shades with this blue and feel good about the look that I create, right? So because there's nothing that I can use the blues with in this palette, I'm not going to use this palette if I want to use those blue shades. So I feel like there's just so much going on that there's not enough cohesion. There's not enough shades to kind of like work together in conjunction with each other, except for these shades, right? So like these 6 shades all work together, but over here, this whole section over here doesn't make sense to me. I'm just not fully in love with this palette, and I'm kind of bummed about it because I was really excited about it, especially when I saw the images. But that's just my thoughts, we all have different personal preferences. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. those are my thoughts. Sound that down below in the comment section. Let us know your guys' thoughts. Did you guys pick up this palette? If you did, please share with us your opinion, because this is just my opinion, and your opinion and you guys sharing your opinion and thoughts in the comment section is just as important as anyone else coming in front of a camera and talking about their review and their thoughts on it. So please share with us your experience, especially if it differs from mine. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.